Namaste. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere, most particularly those that are with us this morning. So, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So we're studying Swami Prabhavananda's talk, Yoga, which is part of the collection of talks edited together by his disciple Nalini, Edith Tipple, and published under the title Realizing God, a book highly to be recommended by any devotee, recommended to any devotee, because it is like sitting at the Swami's knee and hearing him speak as he spoke about the many wonderful aspects of the Vedanta that he taught. So this is Swami Prabhavananda. We're talking about the niyamas now, the observances. Then study. Study means study of the scriptures and also the practice of japam. You receive a mantra from the guru. Study means to practice its repetition. Now I'll talk a little bit about what this study, why japam is included in study. As we may recall, Patanjali says spiritual progress is made by replacing lower samskaras, the lower mental impressions, habits, and practices of thought, speech, and action, with higher samskaras. It doesn't mean jumping from this to realization. No, it means the technical name is sublation. We sublate a higher samskara for the lower samskaras. How do we identify the appropriate how do we identify the higher samskaras that are appropriate for us? First, by reading the scriptures. The scriptures, as Sri Ramakrishna says, are a mixture of sand and salt. And so sand and sugar, a mixture of sand and sugar. And so the first task for us as spiritual aspirants is to determine what is the sugar for us. This involves discrimination, this great tool, this sword. So we discriminate in reading the scriptures. This is appropriate for me. This is a higher way of being that is appropriate for me. What does being mean? Thinking, speaking, and acting. So we have then this developing vision of what is more appropriate for us than the way we are currently thinking, acting, speaking, and acting. how do we identify what it is that needs replacement with great accuracy? When we practice japam, when we practice this repetition of a mantra, and you may receive a mantra from a guru, you can self-assign a mantra also. But a mantra is tremendously valuable. It's a vibration that is higher than the vibration that is currently your being. So the one received from a guru, of course, is very appropriate for you. A self-selected mantra is better than none at all. So when you are practicing this mantra, when you are doing japam and trying to make that a continuous thing, you're saying Om Hari Om or Om Namah Shivaya or Om Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram. As you're saying this, things will interrupt. Thoughts, feelings, perceptions will interrupt. Over time, and it does take time, over time you will discern a pattern to these feelings, thoughts, and perceptions that interrupt your attempts to focus on the mantra. These are the distractions of thought, action, this thought, speech, and action that need replacement. They generally speaking, those things that try to interrupt our practice of japam. So this aspect of study is seeing those things that need replacement, and the other part of the study, scriptural study, gives us an idea of what is higher to replace it with. And so then we can focus our attention on that. We can do our contemplation, manana, on that. And slowly and slowly, because we are beings made of vibration, Vashishta says it, Don Lincoln of Fermilab says it, we are beings made of vibration. When we change the vibration that occupies our mind and what is called the chitta, the mind stuff, which is throughout the body, not just in the head. When we change the vibration that is being transceived, received, and emitted by our action and experience suit, spontaneously changes in thought, speech, and behavior happen. Now, sometimes there also needs the application of some will, some self-effort. If we have a strong habit for the consumption of soft ice cream, we have to deliberately drive past the soft ice cream stand, the Dairy Queen or whatever it is. When we're out driving, we have to restrain ourselves from doing that because we know it doesn't serve us well. So there's self-effort, but this is what study means. So before we go on to what the Swami has to say next, are there any questions or comments about what's been said?
I do have a question, Brother Shankara.
Yes, Swami.
So the effectiveness of the vibrations of mantra, is that different when we enunciate the mantra audibly versus mentally?
Holy Mother says that it's good to do it in any form. But she then further remarks that saying it aloud is slightly less effective than just saying it with your lips and more mental input. And that is yet less effective than doing it mentally. But we find in the beginning particularly, that it is more easy for us not to be interrupted when we're doing it audibly, because there's a feedback loop. We're hearing ourselves doing it. And so it's easier to maintain it. Though it's slightly less effective, it may have a greater effect cumulatively because we're able to do it more successfully. Does that answer the question?
Thank you, Brother Shankara. Yes.
Anything else about this study aspect, scriptures and japam?
Brother Shankara,
Yeah.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari
I
Om.
just want to share an experience and ask your opinion on it. While repeating my mantra, sometime audibly and sometime without audible, when I try to perceive the strength, the power of the mantra that my Swami has put in it, the beach, I feel more, I feel like there's more power at that time.
Yes, this
But
is discerning the meaning of the mantra, and we are to meditate on the meaning of the mantra. Yes, exactly. So the discerning the power that is in the components of the mantra is definitely an aid to concentration on the mantra and to understanding the meaning and the power of the mantra, as you said. Very good, Vijay. Very good.
thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else from anyone?
Hari Om Shankaraji.
Hari Om Balakrishna. So good to hear from you.
Especially, it helps me that when I do that mentally, it also helps me and it brings me back to the Drigdrishya Viveka, where I could, mentally see my thought process.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it. This is the developing of the witness understanding, that we witness what is going on in our minds, in our bodies, and in the outside world. And we see clearly as time goes on that I am that witness. The witness is the face of the Atman. It is the Saguna Brahman, the active face of the Atman. The Atman has two components, like all spiritual, like all of spirituality. It has its nirguna, silent, inactive state, and then it has its active state, observing, and as Krishna says in the Gita, sanctioning our thoughts and our actions. And so this business of being in the witness seat allows us to understand more and more, oh, I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not these thoughts that come and go. I am not these feelings. I am not these perceptions. I am not the outside world and my involvement in the outside world. I am that divine presence. Aham Brahmasmi, or Aham Atman. So this is not something that we think up. It's not a formulation that we make. It is an understanding that we come to by sitting in that witness seat. And we see that what is going on, that is being witnessed, as it's characterized by Vashishta as a magic show, as by Adi Shankaracharya as a superimposition, and by modern teachers as a movie we're watching, a cinema. So very good, Balakrishna. You're exactly right. It allows us to develop a greater and greater abidance in that witness position, which is devoutly to be wished. Thank you, Bala. Anything else? Okay, on we read. I once met a Vaishnava. This is Swami Prabhavananda speaking again now. I once met a Vaishnava whom Swami Turiyananda, one of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, used to go and visit in Vrindavan. To go see him, I had to go. This is the Swami visiting this Vaishnava who lives in Vrindavan, and this Vaishnava is known to Swami Turiyananda, a direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. As a matter of fact, it was Turiyananda who recommended to the Swami to see him. So I used to go visit, the Swami says, this Vaishnava in Vrindavan. To go see him, I had to go down a narrow road on both sides of which there was jungle. Suddenly it opened. Oh. Sorry. On both sides of which there was jungle. Suddenly it opened up into a clearing. There was a little hut where this old man lived with one disciple, only one. The disciple brought a blanket for us to sit on, and then the holy man came. I asked him one simple question because I could feel something in his presence. I asked him one simple question because I could feel something in his presence. I asked him, how did you attain this stage of unfoldment? His answer was Nama, the name of God. Repetition of the name of God, he means. His answer was, so the question was, how did you attain this stage of unfoldment? His answer was Nama, the name of God. So there was an explanation earlier about why that is so. The name of God is a vibration that spontaneously changes us and allows us to see those things that may not spontaneously be changed, but require some self-effort. So that concludes the Swami's discussion of study, that niyama. The next habit is dedication of the fruits of one's work to God. That is, after you have done your day's work, offer the fruits of your actions to God. This is called karma yoga. To quote the Gita, let him who would climb in meditation to heights of the highest union with Brahman take for his path the yoga of action. Then, when he nears that height of oneness, his acts will fall from him. His path will be tranquil. Let me repeat what the Gita says. This is Krishna speaking to Arjuna, of course. Let him who would climb in meditation to heights of the highest union with Brahman take for his path the yoga of action. Then, when he nears that height of oneness, his acts will fall from him. His path will be tranquil. And of course, that's what the Swami found in this old Vaishnava in Vrindavan, who lived with one disciple in a little hut and had nothing. And in any meaningful sense as we understand it in today's world, he did nothing. His acts had fallen from him. And the Swami, as he said, could feel that tranquility in his presence. He could feel something in his presence. So before we go on then, is there anything to ask or comment about this dedication of the fruits of your action, which can be a continuous habit, by the way? You can dedicate it before you do it, after you do it, as you do it, or you can do as the Swami says, wait till the end of the day and simply dedicate all of the actions and the fruits of those actions of the day to God. Most people at the end of the day don't do spiritual practice. So this is why I say it's good to dedicate your actions as you to begin that day, to begin the day that way, that I dedicate everything that will happen in this day, all actions and their fruits, I dedicate to you. And then as you go through the day, when you eat something, when you begin an activity, you offer that activity. If indeed you can do the other and and you have a spiritual practice at the end of the day, then it's auspicious to do it that way as well. Any comments or questions about dedicating the fruits of your actions?
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
I have heard in a couple of talks, including I think one by Swami Sarvapriyananda, that the genuine holy men who live in caves and apparently are not doing any action are actually doing a lot by permeating their tranquility to the universe, because of which many others are able to progress in the spiritual path.
Yes, this is absolutely true. Yes. The only thing I would say is that these are not the only genuine holy men. Sarvapriyananda himself is a genuine holy man, and he is very much active. And he is broadcasting, not just in the moment, but literally thousands of people listen to and watch his talks. I was just speaking with a cardiologist that treats this unit yesterday, Dr. Pandya of Kaiser, and he routinely listens to Swami Sarvapriyananda's talks on YouTube as he's traveling from one place to another, which he has to during the day. He goes from one office to another and from the office to the hospital and so on. And rather than just use that time in thinking or even japam, he will listen to Swami Sarvapriyananda. So Sarvapriyananda is a genuine holy man, broadcasting his great unfoldment and his wisdom into the world, as is Swami Prabhavananda. Don't think that these who've passed out of the body, Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Vivekananda, and all of their followers who have passed out of the body, who were in such a high state of unfoldment, as the Swami called it, that they've gone anywhere. No, as Sri Ramakrishna says, they're just in the next room. They are in their subtle bodies, and they continue to work, which doesn't take anything away at all from what you said, Swayam. These, as Vivekananda also remarked, these people who practice in the forests and in the caves of the Himalayas and elsewhere. You'll find them in the Andes as well, and in the mountains of Mexico, and in the mountains of North Dakota, and so on. There are many, many holy people practicing.
Absolutely. I think Swami, it's been a long time since I heard the talk, but I think he was giving this in reply to somebody who asked a question about people who go to the caves and meditate.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother both discouraged it. And Vivekananda said, busy yourself with karma yoga. This is what he told the monks of the order. Some are given permission to go and do tapas in the Himalayas, some few. But most are given work that suits their capabilities and their nature as part of the order's service to humanity. So yes, I'm sure that Swami Sarvapriyananda knew exactly what he was talking about when he talked about these.
I think, Brother Shankara, listening
Yes,
to Swami Sarvapriya's lectures, I gathered that he said he himself lived in the ashram up in the Himalayas for several years and
yes,
did a lot of sadhana there.
Yes, indeed.
Mhm.
And Mayavati is an Advaita center. There is no worship there. There are no images there. It is a place for becoming the witness and understanding Aham Brahmasmi. And then after that, he came back and became an instructor at the training center in Bellarmont, and was very successful at that.
Yes, he's given so many beautiful motivational talks to the students from IIT
Mm-hmm.
in the big IIT schools all over India.
Yes.
And yes,
And
he's shaping the lives of them.
Now he is helping reshape the study of spirituality at Harvard University. They don't understand it yet, but it's a true fact that he and his involvement with them, because of his influence, because of his presence, is changing things. And if you want to know something about what I'm talking about, listen to his Easter talk, which he gave on Christian mysticism, a particular Christian mystic, but he also discusses his involvement with Harvard. And I know from other sources, Swami Harinamananda and so on, that the Swami is his presence is transformative wherever he goes, whatever he does. So let those who have ears to hear. Anything else, dears, about this business of dedication of the fruits of your actions and the power of that? All right.
Yes, Brother Shankara.
Yes, Aaron. Yes.
Can we just offer very simple tasks such as cleaning the dishes and the sink?
Absolutely, dear. Anything at all. If you go to chapter 4 of the Gita and read the exhaustive list that Sri Krishna gives, he includes even going to the bathroom. He says, offer even this to me. He includes that in the list. The fact is that he is the agent, he is the actor through the gunas and the 5 elements. This is being created and done. And so as we offer it back to him, it's only appropriate, and he describes the appropriateness. So yes, the simplest action, doing the dishes, cooking the dinner, sweeping the floor, anything at all. Thanks for asking that question, Aaron. That's very potent.
Brother Shankara.
And it's everything. Yes, Swami.
No, this is Neera here.
Oh, hi, Neera. Yes.
I know it sounds like a dumb question, but how do you offer, like, what do you say, like, exactly? Can you give me example
Sure.
of little acts? Yeah.
Just, oh Lord, I offer this to thee. It is thine, it is of thee. Om Hari Om. Now you can be more elaborate than that if you wish. You can include saying your mantra a little bit. You know, you can say what you're doing is offering food. You enumerate. I offer this espresso coffee with cream, this orange to thee. Om Hari Om.
Okay.
And then you say your mantra for as many times as you feel like saying it. And then you say, thou, 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 thy sweet will be done. This is thy machine, thou art the operator. Words like that. But you know, Neera, you are, and this is one of the things that most of us don't take seriously enough at all. You are an expression of that great creativity which we speak of as the Divine Mother. It says in the Chandi, among many other wonderful things, it says this: all mythologies and scriptures are your aspects, O goddess. So are all women in the world, endowed with their various attributes. One of the attributes of the mother is this tremendous creativity. I mean, look at the universe. All we have to do is just contemplate the universe and think, oh, mother, what an amazing being you are. I mean, those words just seem comical to try to encompass it. But among those attributes is tremendous creativity. So just let your mind rest on it, Neera, and say what you want to say. Say what you want to say to the Divine Presence when you offer something.
Okay.
What is it that you are offering? What is it that you want to have as the relationship?
I thought we could also offer the effort in the act that we put.
Yes, exactly. The effort, every part of it. Yes, the effort, the act itself, the fruits of the act, definitely. And you just identified, as out of your creativity, you just identified an aspect of it that you want to enumerate, specify. So yes, by all means. But this is one of the things that we should celebrate and use, is this tremendous creativity. It isn't just women. Shiva and Shakti come at this differently. But as Mirabai said to the head priest who wasn't going to let her into the temple in Vrindavan because she was a woman, she said, are not all souls female before God? Yes. So even men have this aspect of the divine with them. It isn't as fully developed. I mean, we do not bear children. We do not have that. We're instrumental in the act of bearing a child, but we do not bear children. We are not as fully evolved as creative beings as women are, men are.
Okay. Thank
But
you.
it doesn't mean we're limited we're unlimited in other ways.
Yes. Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Thank you, Nero. Anything else from anyone?
Brother
Shank-
Shankara,
Yes, Katrina.
hi. In terms of the offering, are we to offer even the, for lack of a better term, the not so good that we do?
Absolutely, dear. That's why I say read chapter 4 of the Gita, and absolutely offer it all without exception.
Okay, thank you.
And when we do, Katrina, we offer it with complete humility that I may have made a mistake. But as Vivekananda remarked at the end of his life, I am so glad I made all those mistakes because they're part of what made me who I am now, too. And so as we look back, we see our lives are anything but a straight line. As David Bowie, the great artist, the singer artist, came up with a name that so beautifully expresses this. The name of the character that he created as an artist was Ziggy Stardust. Now, in English slang, Ziggy means erratic, not moving in a straight line. But Ziggy what? Ziggy Stardust. We are the creation of this universe. We are stardust. Quite literally, we are stardust. And as Bowie so beautifully observed, we are Ziggy Stardust. We don't move in a straight line. So we make mistakes. So what? And so we offer the mistakes. We offer we didn't create the bad parts, Katrina, any more than we created the good parts. Universe created it all. And it is really useful for us to do some contemplation on this extremely potent remark of St. Thomas Aquinas. You cannot be what God is not. And the end of that poem is, God said to me, you cannot be what I am not. The title of the poem is You Cannot Be What God Is Not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Katrina. What a really good question. Anything else?
Yeah, Shankaraji, it reminds me what Sri Ramakrishna used to say to Mother, please accept my vice and virtue.
Right. And in exchange, give me what?
The knowledge.
No, that's not what he said. Take thy virtue, take thy vice, and give me pure love for thee.
Yes.
Give me, in other contexts, he did ask for the knowledge, that's true. But in the formulation that you're just talking about, in which he enumerated so many aspects of being, the black and the white, the good and the bad. Take thy virtue, take thy vice, and give me pure love for thee. Now, pure love sees it all as the divine presence. And Sri Ramakrishna defines that in the gospel also. So thank you. You're absolutely right, Balakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna himself says, not just this, not just that, all of it. Thank you. That's very well remembered.
And also there is a last mantra in Vishnu Sahasranama, which is so beautiful. It's very small mantra that it says how you offer everything to Bhagavan at any time.
Oh, tell us the mantra. First in the
The-
Sanskrit and then the translation.
Well, it is Kayena Vacha Manasendriyaya Buddhyatmanava Prakrute Swabhava Sakalam Parasmai Sakalam Parasmai Narayane Swaha. What it says is both with the speech, mind, and thought, I'm offering everything to you.
There you are, Neera. Write an email to Balakrishna and ask for that mantra, and start with that mantra, repeating that mantra, and then let your creativity take over and replace it with your own words. But that's a beautiful mantra. Say it again, please, Bala. First the Sanskrit and then the English.
Ayena vacha manasendriyaiva buddhyatmanava prakrite swabhavat sakalam parasmai narayanaayeti samarpayami. That is, I'm presenting everything by my word, my manas, and my thought, everything to you.
Mm-hmm. All right, there it is. Beautiful. Would you please email that also to me,
Sure.
Balaji?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to memorize that one myself.
Okay, sure.
So anything else about dedicating the fruits of your actions to the divine, which is this very potent observance, niyama, that is part of Patanjali's yoga? Okay. Back to the Swami. Truth is of two kinds. We have sense perception. We perceive this universe with our five senses. Then, with the data we get from the senses, we make inferences. This is called empirical or scientific knowledge. Now, this is very important, so please listen up. I'm going to read this again. This is how we do it. It's being described. Truth is of two kinds. We have sense perception. We perceive this universe with our five senses. Then, with the data we get from the senses, we make inferences. This is called empirical or scientific knowledge. But there is another kind of truth or knowledge that can be derived through the yogic process. But there is another kind of truth or knowledge that can be derived through the yogic process. It is known as transcendental or superconscious vision. Whether you wish it or not today, in some life or other, that truth that is within you will become revealed. Now, I'll just say, whether you wish it or not, the process can be accelerated by your wishing it to be so. This is the yearning that Sri Ramakrishna speaks of, the yearning to know God. But the Swami says, whether you wish it or not, today, in some life or another, that truth that is within you will become revealed. As the sun remains hidden by clouds, but still shines, not affected by them, the clouds, the truth within us is not affected by our actions and deeds. Katrina, listen up. As the sun remains hidden by clouds, but still shines, not affected by them, the truth within us is not affected by our actions and deeds and thoughts. The ideal of human life is to unfold that divinity within. Now, one thing needed is a regular habit of contentment. This is, the Swami is continuing with the niyamas. Now, one thing needed is a regular habit of contentment, which also means mental poise in the midst of the opposites of life. When I first went to the monastery, one of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna asked me, have you held on to the pillar of God? Have you held on to the pillar of God? You see, in India, children hold onto a pillar and then spin round it. Holding the pillar, they don't fall. So hold on to the pillar of God to keep your mental poise in the midst of the opposites of life. Also, be content with your conditions and external circumstances. If you think that by changing these conditions you will be happier, you sometimes go from the frying pan into the fire, which whenever you are ready, you will find that God will clear your path, but have divine discontent. Be content with your external circumstances, the circumstances of your life, but have divine discontent. If you have some vision of a little light or some music or sound, and you think you have become spiritual, that will not do. My master used to say, light, more light, more light. Is there no end to it? Any questions? He's about to go on to the third limb of yoga. You know, the first limb is the yamas, the second limb is the niyamas. So he's finished with the yamas and niyamas. Are there any, before we go on to the third limb, are there any questions or comments at all? And please, this is how we do this together. Share your feelings, your thoughts, your concerns, your questions with the rest of us, please. Anything about the yamas, the restraints. What did I say about the restraints? The Swami alluded to it, but I made it explicit in this way. The purpose of the yamas, the restraints, is to do away with our adversarial relationship with the world. That somehow I have to put myself first, I, me, mine, and take from the world what I need for myself, my family, doing away with that, and substituting an unselfishness. Now, this is not an overnight process. It goes on throughout your practice of yoga, and it's aided by the niyamas, the observances. If you're going, as Swami Vivekananda said, only a fool gives up something except for something better. So if you're going to give up the way of life that has been successful for you, and for most of us, that I, me, mine way of coping with the universe has its measure of success. Along with it, some happiness, some misery. But there is this other aspect to us that wants more happiness, more freedom. How to get it? All right. To become less self-centered, to substitute thou, thee, thine for I, me, mine. And how do we do that? Through the niyamas, these observances. And so the Swami has gone through step by step what Patanjali recommends as the niyamas: cleanliness, study and self-study, contentment, offering everything to the divine, and so on. This is how we slowly and slowly move from that I, me, mine to thou, thee, thine. Why? And this is, if you remember, there was that mention of the practice of japam, the practice of a mantra. And the reason for that is that it helps us develop that witness consciousness, that witness awareness, where we see that that is who I really am, and not these externals of life. So anything about the first two limbs of yoga, yamas and niyamas, before we go on?
Brother Shankara, I have a question. This is Fred.
Yes, hi, Fred.
Good morning, everyone. Could you say a little more about, you mentioned the two gunas of the Atman or something?
No, the tools of the Atman. You know, it's said in the Gita that the Atman is doing this, creating this action and experience suit and the universe that it projects for its own purposes. And it has for its tools the three gunas and the five elements. It's as if you had something to build, and you had a toolbox that had within it three tools, and you had all of these building materials out of which to build it. The three gunas are tamas, rajas, and sattva. The universe is built of these three powers. The first is the concealing power, tamas, the power of inertia, fixedness, unchangeability. Every one of these has a positive as well as negative aspect to it. There is no such thing as a lever without a fulcrum. A fulcrum has to be a fixed, steady place. That is tamas. So think of tamas as a block of granite. But there's no universe if it's all just concealed. So it must be projected also. The projecting power is rajas. The projecting power, if you think of that block of granite submerged in the earth and therefore subjected to a great deal of pressure, it will melt and will emerge as lava, as an active volcano. This is the projecting power. And so this is an aspect of us. We project the universe out of our understanding of name and form. The third of the gunas is sattva, the revealing power. The revealing power. It reveals to us that behind this activity, there is an awareness, a consciousness And the more we are in the presence, the more we abide in that awareness and consciousness, the more content we are. Now, the first two gunas represent themselves in our lives as materialism, tamas, and vanity, I, the projecting power. I do this, I do that, I am this, I am that, I. Sattva comes along and says, no, there's more. But all three are robbers. And the robbery of the first two is evident, that materialism and vanity steal away our ability to see the spiritual depth behind us. The way that sattva is also a robber is that contentment can lead to a kind of lassitude and a lack of. We get to that point, and we don't make further progress toward the goal. We become sattvic, and it's a kind of transcendental laziness. Now, I mentioned the 5 elements. The 5 elements, of course, of which the universe is made from the Vedic perspective, are earth, air, fire, water, and ether. Now, physicists will tell you that everything is predominantly ether. Even what appears to us to be solid space is solid flesh, solid rock, solid anything, is more than 90% space, more than empty space, ether. All of this is described in great detail as the 24 cosmic principles of Samkhya, Samkhy, Khya, Samkhya. You can read about it in a brief form at the back of Swami Prabhavananda's translation of the Gita. It's an appendix called the Cosmology of the Gita. Now, for most people, that will be sufficient information to understand what's needed to be understood about Samkhya. For those who have a more scientifically inquiring form of mind, they'll want to know, this was the first identifiable, really left mind dominant explanation. Sankhya means enumeration or counting, and it breaks down our apparent reality into its elements and its combinations in great detail. But it is a study all unto itself, and it's not one that most people will want to take up. It just isn't, it doesn't yield enough to make the effort worthwhile in terms of spiritual understanding.
Yeah, I have a question, Brother Shankara.
Wait a minute, Neera, please. Fred, does that get it? Is there anything more?
Well, that's very good. I appreciate that. I guess previous here, just a few minutes ago, you said something about the Atman had 2 faces or something. One was peaceful, and the other one was sanctioning or something. And
no. The two aspects or faces, if you will, of the Atman are the active one, saguna, that is the Atman interacting with the gunas and creating that which we perceive. Saguna, Brahman or Atman, Saguna. in which there is universe and experience. And then Nirguna Brahman or Nirguna Atman, which is that aspect out of which all this arises and in which all potential exists, but no expression. And since there is no expression there, there is no mind there. Mind is an expression. There is no mind to experience it. So nothing can be said about Nirguna. It's something to be realized at the highest level. But as Swami Prabhavananda used to say, first realize that which is available to us as Saguna, which is the kind of samadhi that lets us understand the unity of all existence and that we are a part of that. He said, first have that Savikalpa samadhi, and then we'll talk about Nirvikalpa. So there's nothing really to be said about Nirvikalpa samadhi, particularly from the perspective of us as students here today. But that the Atman, Brahman, which is the root and source of our being, has these two aspects of it. The inactive, which is deceptive, because it isn't really inactive, but it's not active in a way that we can identify with in any way. And then
Okay, great. That clarifies it. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Okay, Nira, anything more?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify that, like you said, the 3 gunas and the 5 elements are the tools that.
Well, the tools and the materials. The gunas are the tools.
And the 5
elements
elements
are the 5 elements. The 5 are the materials.
And those exist both at the microcosm level and the macrocosm level, right?
Well, this is, if you study modern physics, clearly that's absolutely true. And so far there seems to be no connection in the world of physics between the subtle or the microcosmic level and the macrocosmic.
But in Vedanta, we speak, it exists both at the individual level and the cosmic level.
Absolutely.
And also, Thakur mentioned like about the 3 gunas, they are the chains, and even sattva is a gold chain, but it's still a chain. And
Well, that's what I meant. That's what I meant when I called it a robber. Yes.
Right. Right.
They're all fetters. They're all F-E-T-T-E-R. They're all fetters, chains, shackles.
Yeah.
But everything within time, space, and causation is potentially a shackle. It transforms into perfect freedom when we no longer have any attachment to it or desire for it.
Yes, thank you.
When we simply witness it, and we can witness it in loving wonder, as many of the saints do, certainly the saints that are represented in the book Love Poems from God. We can witness creation. This is bhakti. This is devotion. And their perspective is what Sri Ramakrishna calls prema bhakti, the highest form of bhakti. They witness it and they comment on it.
Hello, brother.
Right. Yes.
Hello, brothers. This is Stephen.
Yes, Stephen.
I wanted to, I wasn't sure that I heard a quote that you said a little bit earlier. It was something, I believe you said Thomas Aquinas, and something along the lines of, we cannot be anything God is not.
You cannot be what God is not. You cannot be what God is not. And the end of that poem says, and God said to me, you cannot be what I am not. So everything that is an aspect of the divine, which of course is a logical conclusion from all of the premises, but it's very hard for our left mind to accept. As Sri Ramakrishna said, here is thy virtue, here is thy vice. Take them both, mother, and give me pure love for thee. This prema bhakti, this unadulterated adoration and appreciation of the divine in all its aspects, the virtuous and the vicious.
This is something that I've struggled with Vedanta, coming from a Christian background. It's on one level, it seems like that in Vedanta, we really don't acknowledge the existence of evil and sin. So can you kind of, maybe, I'm sure that's probably a whole talk in itself, but can you say a little bit about that?
There are three levels of existence. There's the animal level of existence, the human level of existence, and the divine level of existence. In the animal world, there is no such thing as sin. There's no such thing as missing the mark. A predator taking the life of something that is vulnerable to it, however vicious or painful it may be in the moment for the preyed upon, there's nothing in that is sinful. Within the human frame of reference, we have this sense of what is right and what is wrong. Now, what we really mean by this kind of morality is what promotes a sane and stable society and that which does not. And so those things that are sinful, that miss the mark, that violate the Ten Commandments, are those aspects that disrupt the possibility of a sane and stable society. They are antisocial acts. And so we condemn the act, but not the actor. Abominate the sin, love the sinner, says the Christian. So why have a sane and stable society? It's the kind of society in which we make the most rapid progress toward our inevitable goal of freedom, enlightenment, and realization. Then there is the transcendental or divine way of seeing and being, in which, again, And this is so beautifully exemplified in the poems in this collection of saints, many of whom are Christians, mystical Christians. Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint Catherine of Siena, Saint Thomas Aquinas, Saint John of the Cross, Saint Francis of Assisi. They see the thing from this perspective of pure love. Here's thy virtue, here's thy vice. Take them both, Mother, and give me pure love for thee. So they acknowledge these things. And St. Thomas of Aquinas says, I want to love you, God, all of you. And God mocks him. You're like a mouse trying to make love to a tiger that's not even in heat. If I took off my mask, you would run away. And Aquinas says, I still want to love you, all of you. And God says, well, there is on my body a hideous blemish. Can you kiss even that? And that hideous blemish is all the hatred and cruelty in the world. And so Christianity does address these things. If you want to get in contact with a Christian that he's a teacher at the McAfee School of Theology at Emory University, Dr. Lloyd Allen, be in contact with him about this divine perspective on the question of sin and evil. So
That's very helpful. Thank you, brother.
you're more than welcome. Anything else? All right, dears. Next week, we'll take up the third limb of yoga. And this is so much what is meant by us studying the art of spirituality together. Thank you for all of your participation and for your willingness to share yourself, because this is how we move forward. It's very lonesome to do it by ourselves. And we see how when we share this way, we see that we have much in common with the others who are studying. And there's companionship and love and support for one another. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Any final thought or anything to be said by anyone? All right. Oh, dearly beloved, a flower at your feet for each one who comes to your open door. A flower at your feet for each one who stands by your open door and says, come to me, offering to break this world's chain that binds us down to ignorance, suffering, and death. A flower at your feet for each one who takes the path that you have struck through this, your jungle world. Om Amen. Om Amen. Om Amen. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace. Peace be unto us and to all beings everywhere. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be cheerful. May you have peace of mind. Go forward in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Presence. Any final thought from anyone? All right. Tomorrow morning, the talk is on what deserves your attention from the perspective of Advaita Vedanta or Jnana Yoga. What deserves your attention? And it's an interesting perspective because it presents from a number of the great teachers that are very clear about what deserves our attention if we're going to move along that path. Until tomorrow morning, for those of you who choose to join us.
Brother. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye all.
Bye.